Well, hello and welcome back to the Pitchside podcast after this couple of days hiatus. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to help us reach the first K. Of course, follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitchside on Instagram. Share this wherever you can. Of course, tell a friend. Do whatever to really inform and spread the word about this podcast. Help us on the way to the first K. We're going to be tackling the first fixture of the qualifiers from the World Cup in Europe, and we're going to be talking about the appointment of Borussia M'Gladbach's new manager, Xabi Alonso, a new thing that happened over the weekend. We couldn't really cover it because of the sort of congestion of action. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Cristiano Ronaldo rumours to Real Madrid intensifying. Join us for more, and you're welcome. Welcome to episode 106. I know for the most part the international break doesn't really provide much action or not really that interesting for most football fans, but definitely the first fixture of the European qualifiers for the World Cup provided a couple of talking points that we're going to get to. Really, let's go quickly through the results first, and then we're going to be talking about those talking points. Turkey kicked off things against Netherlands 4-2. It was for the Turkish from 5 shots on target only. Turkey managed to score 4 against Netherlands, who had double that amount, I think, or even more. 2 goals from them, and they were 3-0 down by 50-something minute into that game. Hakan Çalhanoğlu was the boss in that game. Burak Yilmaz scoring a hat-trick, a beautiful hat-trick, by the way, as well. But definitely the game wasn't exactly, it wasn't exactly that easy, really, for the Turkish side, with, of course, a couple of yellow cards as well that were really edgy, and missing a penalty for Memphis Depay in the end for Netherlands. 4-2 it ends for Turkey, and a good first result for them. Then we had, of course, in the same group, Gibraltar losing to Norway 3-0, Latvia losing to Montenegro 2-0. In Group E, Belgium defeating Wales 3-1, Estonia losing to Czech Republic 6-2, Tomas Soucek scoring a hat-trick in that one. Finland drawing against Bosnia-Herzegovina in Group D 2-2, and France drawing as well against Ukraine 1-1. Portugal drawing against Azerbaijan 1-0 in Group A, and Serbia defeating Ireland 3-2 in Group A. There's 2 other teams, of course, in that group, but definitely they won't count because the game between them counts as a friendly for Qatar and Luxembourg. Qatar defeated Luxembourg, of course, in that game 1-0. In Group H, Cyprus drawn against Slovakia 0-0. Malta lost to Russia 3-1, and Slovenia defeated Croatia 1-0. Of course, the couple of big points obviously are going to be 3. The first one is going to be Netherlands. Certainly a disappointing victory from a Dutch point of view. Frank de Boer is in a complete messy state at the moment for the Dutch team after the exit of Ronald Koeman going to Barcelona. Nothing has really happened for them. Nothing has really gone well for them. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, a side that we were talking about as revitalized after that horrendous 2018 World Cup qualifiers where they didn't make it to the tournament. Then we the whole talk about the revitalization of that club, the new generation, the youngsters coming through, the players rising, the Youngs, the Delicts, the Van de Beeks, the players this and players that. And we're talking about a lot of, things in the Dutch team, but definitely Frank de Boer. And if you followed his managerial career for any amount, you know that he's not exactly, the best of characters. Like, he doesn't really make it. I mean, he was sacked from Feyenoord Rotterdam just a couple of months ago before that, and in the middle of a pandemic because of his, because of his bad managing. Like, I mean, he's a legend as a player. I mean, all day long, I can really take that and accept it, of course. But definitely as a manager, he does not belong. He doesn't have the same success. He doesn't have the same character. He doesn't have the same amount of, let's say, respect and reverence as a manager, as much as he got as a player. So I don't really think that, Netherlands are going to be better with Frank de Boer. I reckon they should find someone else, or they need to probably go to an old school solution, maybe a Louis van Gaal or someone like that. I mean, I don't know if he's available anyway. Of course, the group they're in is really tough. Like, it's not just Turkey. Norway are an ambitious side as well, and they could really, make it very, very annoying for them in the next round. I really think that it's going to be such a tough one for Netherlands to get through in that group, because it will be really hard for them to do that. Of course, the second round, Norway is going to host Turkey, and that's going to be interesting. So Netherlands is going to have at least a chance to pick up 3 points against Latvia. The second sort of biggest result in this one is, of course, the draw against Portugal, although the victory for Portugal against Azerbaijan, which wasn't, was easy. It was unbelievably struggling for Portugal. It was a struggle, an unbelievable struggle for them. They did everything in football. Just look at the statistics. They had 66% of possession, 29 shots in the game, 14 on target, but somehow none of them was scored, and the only one that was scored was the own goal. It was an own goal. It was a cross, from Pedro Neto inside the box, and it ends up punched away by the goalkeeper and then into his defender and into the net. It is weird. And I know you have the sort of, excuse for them, again, tired, the middle of the season, an international break that comes just smack bang in the business end of the season where the leagues are being settled, the Champions League is going into its end and all of that, but definitely it should be something familiar now, because almost every year, pandemic or no pandemic, there's an international break that happens in the middle of March, so it's not exactly a surprise. It shouldn't be an excuse against Azerbaijan, at least, not against this side, not against this team. You should excuse with the tiredness and the schedule, because the players that you have, and the squad and the depth that you have in Portugal as Fernando Santos could allow you to beat 2 or 3 teams of that ilk, really. In one night, you could distribute them and beat them. Somehow, I don't really doubt the fact that Portugal are going to go through, or are going to go through top, or going to anything, but I really doubt that it's going to be an easy road for them. I really doubt it's going to be that comfortable eventually, and they have Czech Republic in the same group, smashing Estonia 6-2. I know that's not an indication as well, but, Czech Republic are a really decent side. They had some incredible players, Thomas Suchek scoring a hat-trick in that one, so that might be a little bit of trouble, for Portugal in that one. And then you have, of course, again, the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't score again. It's a disappointing night for him, again, after a couple of disappointing ones in the Serie A and then Champions League. So there's a whole of frustration pent up. I'm going to discuss that, of course, when it comes to the Ronaldo situation with Real Madrid. Rumours in that same group, of course, Serbia, Ireland, 3-2, and, of course, Catholics, Qatar and Luxembourg, 1-0 for Qatar in that friendly. The third biggest result, I think the biggest point, is certainly France drawing against Ukraine, 1-1, the world champions, struggling themselves as well in that game, but I think they were worse than Portugal in the sense that, I'm not saying worse, but I think the fact that they found a better team than Azerbaijan to really bounce, to do bounce off them. Ukraine played really, really well. They were solid defensively. They were really tight. They were really compact. The 5-4-1 for Andriy Shevchenko, relying on the counters, doesn't change against the big sides really. France created in the first half. At least they were really, really better in terms of creation. More significantly quicker. But by the second half, I think Ukraine figured them out, and they had a good start really in the second half, which allowed them to equalise. Be it through an own goal from Breslan Kimpembe, but definitely Ukraine deserved that equaliser for the first 15 minutes they had in the second half, and then France struggled to score, didn't really create nothing significant for the next half an hour or so. Unlike Portugal, their statistics were not exactly that great. 3 shots on target, and I think most of them were in the, one of them was in the first half, and 2 were in the second, with the same amount of untargeted sort of shots, 9 in each half. So you really have to ask yourself whether France are going to be struggling, because it looks, for all intents and purposes, like they will do in this group. Yes, there is, it's Kazakhstan, it's Bosnia Herzegovina and Finland who's drawn in 2-2 in the same group. But this is going to be a tricky one. And I'm not saying France are not going to be qualifying, because that's going to be crazy to believe. But definitely they're going to be struggling a couple of games here and there. And the next couple of games are away for France in that second round. So you have to really consider this. They're going away to Kazakhstan on the 28th of March, and they're going away to Sarajevo to face in Bosnia-Herzegovina on the 31st. So that's going to be a pretty, demanding schedule on those first 3 fixtures, of course, but that it is what it is because of the pandemic and the rescheduling. It is again what it is for that game, but definitely was a struggle for the world champions and not the kind of start that they would like. A team that would like the kind of start they had was Belgium, of course, defeating Wales 3-1, and one of the favourites really, one of the favourites to win the tournament, one of the favourites to win the World Cup, not just to qualify, because I don't really doubt the fact they're going to qualify from this group. It's just going to be the fact that who's going to be qualifying second between Wales and Czech Republic. Czech Republic, of course, smashing 6 past Estonia, Thomas Suchek scoring a hat-trick. They look like a really decent team, and definitely they're going to be challenging for that second spot at the very least, because we don't really know what football is going to have for us in store in the next couple of months, or the next couple of rounds, really. And that fixture could change a lot of things, and it could head into the next international break, which is going to be, I think, after the Euros. We'll probably head into the international break, the next international break, with a lot of interest, intrigue in those groups. 3-1 with the complete domination, I think, from Belgium. The first goal coming from De Bruyne after the goal from Wales, of course, the equaliser from the goal from Harry Wilson. It was a brilliant goal, but actuality from Wales. But then De Bruyne with a beautiful strike, equalising. Then Thorgan Hazard scoring the second. And then Romelu Lukaku from the spot, making it 3-1 for Belgium. Very comfortable victory for the Red Devils. On Thursday, of course, today is going to be Spain, Greece, Sweden, Georgia in Group B, Bulgaria, Switzerland, Italy, Northern Ireland in Group C, Israel, Denmark, Moldova, Faroe Islands, Scotland, Austria in Group F. In Group I is going to be Andorra, Albania, England, San Marino, Hungary, and Poland. And in Group J, it's going to be Germany, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Armenia, and Romania facing North Macedonia. Let's move on now. I think we should talk about some things that we didn't cover during the last week, if so, because of the real sort of combustible nature of the schedule, with the Champions League, leagues and overall happening, and cup games playing, and overall an important event took place over the last week or so, and I think it didn't really go without its fanfare, but definitely we're going to give it its worth now. The appointment of the new manager for Borussia M'Gladbach, or the announcement that Xabi Alonso is going to be the next manager for Borussia M'Gladbach from the next season onwards, of course, after Marco Rose was announced that he's going to be leaving the club for Borussia Dortmund. It's an intriguing experience. Like, from all the places you expected Xabi Alonso to go through and start his managerial career, you definitely didn't expect Borussia Mönchengladbach. Certainly didn't expect to start in Germany anyway, because there's really options for him in Spain, I would say. He might overtake Real Sociedad, he might overtake Athletic Bilbao, one of those Basque clubs he played for. So there was this idea that Xabi Alonso, wouldn't start outside of Spain, outside of the Basque in particular. But he's going to be starting for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and it's a very, 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 very challenging situation. I mean, of course, he's another class of that, the class of the 2000s great midfielders, if I might add, with him, Zidane, of course, Clarence Seedorf, Gennaro Gattuso, Andrea Pirlo, if I'm forgetting someone, obviously, Simone Inzaghi as well. If you forget, Simone Inzaghi as well, it's another great midfielder in the 2000s with Lazio. So, there's kind of ilk of coaches that is getting there and trying to, learn the ways and learn how to do it. Of course, Steven Gerrard as well with Rangers is another example. But definitely the one with Xabi Alonso is a very interesting one, because for example, like Andrea Pirlo to Juve makes sense. He's a legend in that club. The links with that club is immense. Even if he went to Milan, you can understand why. Gennaro Gattuso going to Milan, it's also understandable why, although his stint was forgettable there. Eventually he settled in Napoli. Also you have, Clarence Seedorf with Milan, of course, with a couple of months as well. Frank Lampard in Chelsea. Steven Gerrard in Rangers. It makes sense because he himself wanted to get away from the Liverpool job for his first managerial stint, and it definitely worked wonders really for him. He went, without a defeat in the league and winning the 55th title for Rangers, ending a Celtic domination for the last 9 seasons or so. And it's an intriguing prospect really for Xabi Alonso. The guy retired in 2016 without much fanfare. He went to Bayern, he finished his career there. And he had a couple of years to learn the trade of the managing and start his first proper managerial job in Borussia Mönchengladbach. And this is a challenging one for a couple of reasons, not least of which the situation Mönchengladbach find themselves in right now. Obviously, by next season, most likely they will have no European football, no Champions League, and no Europa League, unless they win. I don't know. Unless they make a serious surge in the last 7-8 games in the Bundesliga, and then they're going to find themselves in the European spot. But that is unlikely to happen really at the moment. So it's not exactly the easiest of options for Borussia Mönchengladbach to set Xabi Alonso future for the club. And I reckon it's for the better, because Xabi Alonso should be starting on a clean slate. It should be starting with no European football. It's started from the bottom really for him. He should take that club. He should take that team, try and build it from the off, and try and sort of build his reputation in the club, trying to make his name and make up the way for the club as he goes from that situation where they don't have European football to play to returning to European football, going through the league or the cup or whatever. That is a better option, I think, for Xabi Alonso. It's a good start for him, not putting too much pressure on him, and obviously he needs to have a say on the players brought to the team, depending on who is the player going to be exiting, because definitely some players in Mönchengladbach at the moment are very demanded. Jonas Hoffmann, for example, is demanded. Florian Neuhaus, I think, is the most demanded, and Bayern are in the leading seat really when it comes to the race for Florian Neuhaus. And obviously, again, Xabi Alonso is not a Red Bull graduate kind of manager like the ones that, Borussia Mönchengladbach were sort of hiring, going through that Red Bull line, but definitely not. Xabi Alonso is a different breed. He's a new manager. Is he going to implement some sort of tiki-taka into Borussia Mönchengladbach? Is he going to have him play with more exciting football? We'll see. Obviously, the judgment cannot be done now. The judgment should be done next season. And on a full season, really, we cannot really say that he failed just from the half a season. Although, considering Andrea Pirlo at Juventus, I think the standards are going to be varying here for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and definitely standards vary for Xabi Alonso. He's not demanded to win the league. He's not demanded to win the Champions League. They know where they are. They know what they need to build. And obviously, this is an audacious move to get Xabi Alonso into that club, and we'll see how he's going to be doing. Definitely, I wish him luck. I wish him success. Obviously, he's one of the greatest midfielders ever, really, and one of the most underrated at the same time. Like, somehow people do not rate his career the same way in the Liverpool days, the Real Madrid days, and his latter stages at Bayern, of course, where he was sort of, he had a lot of play time, but definitely not to the effect that could really, surge his career back up after it ended in Real Madrid. So it has to be said, again, it's an audacious move from Borussia Mönchengladbach, definitely one that came out of left field. Nobody expected it, but surely we're going to be seeing what Xabi Alonso is going to be at, how his identity as a coach is going to be, and we'll see how he's going to be doing with that crop of players who are really, really, really good. Is he going to have him play more offensive? Is it going to be change of the shape all of a sudden? I don't know. We will see what's going to be happening, and definitely, again, congratulations for him, and I wish him a real success with Borussia Mönchengladbach, one of the biggest teams in Germany. We'll see how he's going to be leading them to the safe line once again. Carrying on from the frustration of Portugal in the first fixture of the European qualifiers for the World Cup against Azerbaijan, and it certainly would be frustrating not for Cristiano Ronaldo, who didn't score an international goal. Of course, he's looking to beat the record of Ali Daei. He only has, I think, 6 or 7 goals to beat that record, or even less, I think. I think it was 103 he's on at the moment, to the 108 that Ali Daei has, of course, registered throughout his career. But definitely that translates into his bigger picture frustration from playing at Juventus, or at least that's what the media will try to tell you at the moment, that Cristiano Ronaldo is frustrated in Juventus and wants to return to Madrid, and the rumours are intensifying. Like, reports even suggesting that he himself is contemplating that idea, is meditating the idea of returning to Real Madrid at the in the summer, and that is going to be, in both ways, it's going to be good and bad for Juventus, because In a transitional season, it will, for Juventus, Ronaldo leaving, I think, will be better than him staying. And I know that might sound crazy because they bought him for 100 million euros, they spend all this kind of money, and obviously he made them tons of money as well back on Mersh. So it's not exactly the most, not exactly a losing deal when they had Cristiano Ronaldo back, but definitely this is the kind of situation where you ask yourself that Cristiano Ronaldo's exit from the club is a better option than him staying, because of the wages they're going to be saving from him, the fact that they will save a whole host of big amount of money that they can, go and buy a couple of good players as well to bolster their squad. It's a decent squad, but it, lacks some players here and there, lacks some pieces in certain positions. Definitely kind of the options that they have, they need to weigh the options that they have in the midfield as well, and to consider how they're going to be buying players in the next transfer window. But for me, Cristiano Ronaldo leaving Juventus, not returning to Real Madrid, is going to be a plus for Juventus. Cristiano Ronaldo returning to Real Madrid, however, is going to be sort of bad on so many levels. Again, I mentioned in a previous piece about this that Cristiano Ronaldo shouldn't be the kind of. It shouldn't be the kind of player that, should return now at Real Madrid. At 36 years of age, he's not going to get any younger. And, I definitely would think that this is going to be a blow for the project of Real Madrid, for the identity of Real Madrid. There's not a lot of players that left Real Madrid and then returned with the same dignity, at the very least, let's say it. There's not a lot of players that, left Real Madrid and returned in the first place, really. Fernando Hierro left in a bad way, Raul Gonzalez Blanco left in a bad way, Luis Figo left in a bad way, and none of them returned to Real Madrid. So it has to be said that, there's not exactly the good track record for Real Madrid when it comes to sort of legends leaving the club and then returning, because that didn't happen for a lot. And Cristiano Ronaldo returning might be, acceptable by the fans, may be acceptable by some in the hierarchy of Real Madrid, but not the majority, really, because obviously this is going to be a blow for the project of Real Madrid. They try nurturing the new talent, really, trying to build this new Galacticos generation with young players. Obviously they're going to be, if they have money, they're going to be going after either Haaland or Mbappe, and with the new fair play rules, the FFP rules, probably going to be set soon by the UEFA, it definitely will, boost the opportunities for those clubs to just buy outright those players with whatever money comes in front of them. So it's not going to be a winning deal for Cristiano Ronaldo to return at this age, at this state, to Real Madrid. Definitely not with the wages that he's on. The Real Madrid are stranded for cash, as is every team in this moment, because of the pandemics and because of the effects of the pandemic. And definitely, last but not least, I don't think this is going to add a lot, and definitely there's some players in that club you barely had out of the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo, aka Karim Benzema, who barely got out of the shadow of Ronaldo, starting to score on his own, starting to feel like the captain of the club that he needed to be a couple of years ago. He was selfless with Ronaldo, he played him on, he played to his tempo, all the team played to his tempo, but I don't think they will do that just now. I think it's going to be a different story, even with the same crop of players almost being there. Like, it didn't change a lot since Ronaldo left. Like, pretty much Rodrigo came in, Vinicius came in, and I think that's about it for Real Madrid. Like, that's about the biggest changes that happened in that one. It was Vinicius coming in, and and Hazard coming in, and that's it. And Hazard was injured, so it didn't show us a lot why he deserved to be the player in Real Madrid to replace Ronaldo and to take his number 7. The couple of youngsters, coming on, the likes of Rodrigo, the likes of Fede Valverde coming onto the club as well. So there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of changes, but also Cristiano Ronaldo needs to stay away from Real Madrid in order for those changes to eventually happen, because returning for him now is going to mean that Real Madrid are going to change their style of play again to feature him more and to try and get the best out of him, because he's going to be a superstar once again, and that is why the return for Real Madrid really doesn't make a lot of sense and will not really sit well with most of the maybe journalists, maybe pundits, maybe fans, including myself. Really, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't really want to see him there again. I prefer him maybe to go to Man United again, maybe even go to Sporting. Really, his stomping grounds, help them out of their local slump there in Portugal, score a bunch of goals, be revered, be celebrated in those last couple of years, finish off at the World Cup in Qatar, I think, in 2022, and, run off at the sunset. That is, I think, the perfect ending for you. But if you're going to be returning to Real Madrid for Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be a real nightmare. And, probably is going to end up with a scenario, maybe Gareth Bale, with the fans booing him eventually when they return to the stadiums, if they return to the stadiums, and Real Madrid had Cristiano in their side. So we'll see how the saga is going to be going in the summer, but definitely it's always interesting and it will always be followed here, and I will always have, a lot of saying about it in this podcast. Thanks for watching / listening. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, share it around and tell friends to help us reach the first K. Follow us on social media, @PSP_pod on Instagram, and listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. Until the next time, I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and goodbye.